Okay.
We still don't
Here
have a
we are.
theme song, but we're
Yeah, that
close.
seems. Yeah, we are close. We were just trying to figure something out, but it hasn't like we run out of time, so I feel unprepared now. But still, I'm happy that we are here. Um, how are you?
Um, I'm good. I feel like got a lot of stuff done, and getting ready to kind of release a new take on Fiberplane later today, early tomorrow, and that's exciting.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous as well because I posted this week on the Hono Discord that we talk about Hono middleware, and maybe there are a lot of experts now on the stream. We will find out, right? So if we do something wrong, maybe someone will type something in the chat and it's like, no, this is not how you should do it.
Oh yeah, I'm full
Um,
screen. I gotta look at the comments.
you
All
look at
right,
the comments, okay.
no comments so far.
Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, I can show you how I use the custom middleware, or not the sorry, not the custom middleware, the one that is built in, because I feel that is one of the easiest way to get started with middleware, to use something that exists already, um, for validation, and maybe afterwards you can go through the more advanced use cases with us. Does
Yeah,
it
maybe.
sound?
Or like to frame it, what we're about to see um, is okay. You have an API. Your API needs to accept inputs from the scary internet or your users, and you want to be in TypeScript certain of the like structure of whatever data was sent to you by someone who's using your API. And validators are our way of doing that in Hono. And being certain that when we access something like the body of the request of a JSON payload, that it conforms to the shape that we want it to. And then if it doesn't, we can return an error and be like, hey, you're using our API wrong. And that's kind of the goal of validators. And Hono has a bunch of type magic that helps us accomplish that. And then third-party middleware that integrates with like validation libraries in TypeScript that makes it very simple to just like uh, drop in your favorite validation library. So yeah, that's the problem we want to solve, and Nelle has already solved it.
I don't know if I have solved it. Well, I have solved it, and I like the ways when it's thanks to you, I have a new favorite IDE. It's Windsurf now, because we
I
talked
gotta,
about it.
I have to admit, like I've told people try it out. I still haven't tried it.
Well, I
uh,
kind of I kind of like it so far. Is it big enough, or should I make it bigger? Maybe that's
definitely,
better.
yeah, definitely a little bigger. Maybe even one or two more if you can.
Yeah, and I
Um,
started. So sorry, I have to do it the different way. What I wanted to show is first I'm using the Z validator from from Hono Z in my application. And if we go to the root, I basically have to change it, because I did both. I wanted to customize the error message a little bit. Maybe it's no. Okay, that should do the trick. And what it does here, it will validate if we get JSON. And then I also have to find here an input schema. And maybe you guess already, we are in my favorite app. We are in my Windle app, because I decided that's a very good use case to see. Because if we want to find a vinyl on Discord, we need either the barcode or we need artist name and the name of the release. And I prepared, the schema here as well in Zort, and I found that quite cool. And that is where Windsurf helped me actually already to define here a union, so that I have either the barcode schema that will be entered, or the manual entry schema. And of course, we also need to have an owner of the vinyl to know who belongs the vinyl to. And then this union here basically takes care of it, that I have either the barcode or that I have an artist and a release title handed in. And I found that is quite handy. Yeah, and with that, basically, I can start the application. And I open a second terminal, and I guess your eyes are not liking this, but I'm
yeah. Also, if you could zoom in maybe a little bit more.
a little bit
Um,
more
yeah.
like
Uh,
this.
let me check. Let me check. I think, let me go full screen.
Go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe if can you do one more?
One more.
I'm imagining
Ooh,
myself watching this. Yeah.
this gets unusual for me, I have to say. But okay, I mean, yeah, so here's a schema again of the vinyl that we hand in to validate. Sorry, the joint one here, the vinyl input schema with the join, which I found quite cool. And now if I go to our lovely version 1 of our Fiberplane Studio, I have that endpoint here. I can go to the history. We can also, I mean, there is a body already. Maybe I want to try something. I brought a vinyl with me to the screen. So I have here
Nice.
something that is not entered. That is the artist Pahua, and the release title is Habitat. I don't know if it's like on Discord or not. There is sometimes also the chance that this is not there. So yeah, let's see. But I think that is a good record that I can add now.
Oh, wow.
Ah, yeah, no master URL found. Okay, so I think that might not be on the platform. So sorry. But yeah, so the error that we get is not from our validation, but it's basically the error because the Discord can't find it. I didn't test it before. But yeah, let's maybe go with something that exists. So I can send this. And it used to be there before, like Beyond Space and Time. I have no idea. Just found it somewhere for testing, and it works. But now what I also can do is, because, for example, we know now the structure should also return an error if I only hand in the artist, because then I also need the release title. And boom, we get the dot error here. So we have here the invalid union. And basically now we get the whole dot thing back, right? So everything that dot will tell us is in here. Yeah, and we have here the message that this is required as well, the release title. So I think that's quite nice to see how it works. And with the blog post that Aristo published, I also learned that I can customize this a little bit, because I might not want to have this huge output all the time for especially if I'm in production. And yeah, he helped me a little bit discussing this. Basically, you can customize the middleware and override some behavior of it and define, and I didn't know where to put it, but like here is what I found a good solution is to put it in lib and then define my dot error there. So first define my error, how I would like to give it back. Instead of the long one, I want to shorten it a little bit down. And then I can define custom middleware. And yeah, basically define here how my result is shown when it's not a success. And then instead of using the baked or the third-party middleware, I use my custom middleware, which is here. And that's what I had in the beginning. Just change it now. Jesus, this is so big. Where is my... Okay. And now, if we go back, and let's see if we query this again. Yeah, we see that the error is formatted differently, actually. So we have less information. I mean, I guess there's still something that we can do better here. So, but yeah, just wanted to show that it's possible.
Okay. Yeah, wait. So I think there's a lot to unpack of what all just went down. So if you go back to your source file of index.ts, and you can show maybe where you're executing the validation.
Oh yeah, here I use the custom.
Okay.
The custom Zod validator, right? Instead of the that validator that I used before, I now use here the custom one that I imported.
Yeah. So I think a couple of things of note here, just to like break down what's happening. So for both the Z validator and then your custom Zod validator, you're passing in at first a string called JSON. And that's just saying, like, once we validate the data, then inside your request handler body, you can access that data under this key, which is JSON. And so there's a limited number of keys that you can use here. They're defined by Hono internally. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but JSON means like JSON body. So like what's going to happen under the hood is that your Zod validator is going to effectively, well, use Hono's internal validator to get the JSON, like the body of JSON body of the request, and then pass it through to your second argument right there, which is vinyl input schema. And then at that point, that's when Zod looks at like the schema you defined, which is like the shape that the data should be in. It tries to see if the incoming request body matches the schema. If it matches, then we proceed into the request handler itself, and that's how we know that the body has the shape that it does. So if you hover over body in your editor, that const body, all right, so there you see like the two different shapes that the body could have, which is the barcode owner artist or artist release title owner. Wait, those seem, yeah. Wait, are those the same fields?
Those are the same
yeah.
fields, yeah.
Okay. There's probably a way to tighten up the types a little bit there, but the point here is that like the body, we know roughly that the body has these properties, and then we can work with those. Whereas if you just did c.rec.json, you would get back anything. You could even possibly throw an error. And so this gives us like, that's when we talk about type safety from the validation. That's the type safety we're talking about. What else is worth breaking down here? I think aside from JSON, so JSON, there's a really good gotcha here. Can I send you, are you sharing your whole screen or are you just sharing your editor?
I'm sharing the whole screen, but you want to send me something on Slack? It's on my second monitor. You can do that.
Oh, okay. Well, I wanted to send you a link, possibly. Actually, could you go?
Well, send me a link. Can you send me a link on Slack?
Yeah, of course.
Because I think I'm sharing only my one monitor, not the other one. So if you send it on Slack, I can open it in the right monitor. So if you want to send me something,
I'm sending you something. I'm sending you Hono source code because we're going deep.
Yoo-hoo, here we are.
All right, I lost my tab, which is embarrassing, but I'm coming back. There we go. All right. All right, we might want to zoom in. Now, in this case, if you look for, there should be like a case. If you look for just like case colon and then the string JSON, and if you can scroll. Up.
Up. I saw a case. Yeah, here.
There we go. Okay, so this is Hono's internals of how it's going to validate like certain things for your request, and then make a guarantee after the validation passes that certain aspect of your request has this data that is in like conforms with this shape. So the thing that I wanted to bring up here is if you are doing this validation on JSON specifically, the request should have a content type of application JSON. Otherwise, Hono's internals are not actually going to try to parse the body as JSON, and it'll just skip. It'll kind of skip validation altogether. That was one of our colleagues hit this bug last week and was like, "Why isn't this request working?" And I was like, "Oh, you need to add the content type of application JSON."
You have to make sure it's JSON. Then you can't.
Yeah, actually, we can test this. Yeah. If you have Studio, do you still have Studio?
No, I don't have it anymore.
Okay.
I mean, I think I didn't open it in the. No, we have it again. All right. So now I have it also on the tabs.
If you try making a request to Vinyl, with a valid body. Or sorry, keep the invalid body. Keep the invalid body. I want to see if this works. So just in the headers, if you can, try removing that. I don't know if we might automatically add it, honestly. But if you change the content type at the bottom to text instead of JSON. So if you go, well, that might work.
Yeah.
Might. I think it might. Okay, I think it still tried to send it as JSON. So at the very bottom of the request pane, if you go to that, so you're in the response pane right now. If you go left to the request pane, and then along the bottom, it says JSON.
Here it's still. Maybe I can. Okay, interesting.
All right. Now try sending. Okay, so we still get a invalid JSON. Interesting.
What happens if we do it with a one that is working? But then it should be probably it's then getting us a result, right? Because it's like, when we do it with this one here. It's probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Here we get.
So, yeah, this was so we get an invalid JSON error from the validator, I think, because it's
I think so too.
Trying to validate JSON and then has nothing because we didn't tell it it's a content type of application JSON. So this is just like something to bear in mind if you are. Could you zoom in? Someone has asked.
Oops. Yes.
If you add validation, especially to JSON bodies, but also to form bodies and things like that, because that's possible, then you do want to attach the proper content type to your requests when you make them. Okay, that was a long-winded.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. But I think also if you go, I think this is also on the doc side, but here also you could see all the other types that you can use, right, as targets. So you have JSON, but you have form, and I guess they are all in here, basically. So just need to look for query.
Yeah, you can, for the queries, you can also validate the query string, the parameters in your URL, and the header. As well as your cookie. You can validate your cookie. So yeah, that can be super helpful. Yeah, and also, by the way, this is like the validator in Hono is like less than 150 lines of code. Most of it is just type magic. And it's pretty easy to understand what's going on, even without trying to understand the like crazy generics that they put at the top. It's quite elegant. So like the magic here is that like when you chain this middleware into your request, you get like type safe data down the line in your request handler whenever you use this. So then like any third-party middleware, any third-party middleware that does validation will internally rely on this code right here. And it's also easy to use this code yourself.
And the Z validator, I assume now, is built on top of it, right? So it also uses this under the hood.
Yeah. So actually, okay. Well, if you go to our blog, the Fiberplane blog, so today is all based off of a post that our friend Aristo made last week. It's called "Hacking Hono: The Ins and Outs of Validation Middleware." This goes much more in depth than we're able to today, but it covers a lot of the concepts of like, what's your inputs and your outputs for validation, and how does that work with the Hono's type system. But if you go to, there's a link on your page right now with package-specific validation middleware. It's in orange in about the middle of the screen.
Perfect.
Try clicking that, and then now click Zod Validator. And now click source in the GitHub and index.ts. All right, this is the source code for Zod Validator.
And we see already, it uses the validator.
So it uses Hono Validator under the hood. I've read this. You can read this too.
I don't know, but I can try.
It's yeah, and under the hood, it's using Hono validator, and it's like the actual like non-type code in this is extremely thin. So if you scroll down, the function body is in screen right now. You can almost fit the entire function body in your screen, and
Yeah.
most of the logic in this is just a special case for headers. Because Hono lowercases all the headers automatically, that can mess with like a Zod schema. So before, basically before you validate headers with the Zod schema, the Z validator library does some special magic in order to make sure that you don't get a validation error just because like you capitalized headers in your schema, whereas Hono by default shows them as lowercase. Yeah.
Cool. And I assume now, like if I'm just thinking of this, I get a request and I want to validate the most common types, I'm most of the time fine with the Z validator. Customizing it maybe with other error output, I think that might be nice. But what use cases would you say are there if you use the pure validator or if you even create your own? Where would you see that being useful?
Yeah, I mean, so like it's kind of a handy layer of abstraction on top of any. Okay, well, I'd say the main use case would be for like formatting errors in the way that you want, in like a very standard way across all API responses that do validation. And there's a good sample of that in the blog post that we just saw. I'd say other than that, like the thing is, it's quite easy to use when you look at the documentation for it. And so if you don't want to go through the hassle of like installing and learning a validation library, you can do very simple validation yourself just by learning this middleware. And so like say that you have a very tiny API service, like just a couple of routes, and all you want to do is verify a couple of properties on the incoming request. Then you don't need to install Zod, install the Zod validator, learn how to use Zod if you don't, et cetera, et cetera. Then you can just do like standard TypeScript, JavaScript, and then still get the same end result. So I'd say that's one good use case. Or if like you want to write middleware for a validation library that isn't supported through third-party middleware. So I think like Archetype, there's a validation library. I don't think it's supported necessarily with the Hono third-party middleware. So that would be a way to like use the validation library of your choice. You need to use this underlying validator thing in Hono. Yeah, long answer. Sorry.
No, I think that's great. So I guess maybe my small service could use maybe the tiny version of the normal validator, not the Z validator. And I think there's also in this blog post what I like is what he's calling then the over-engineered way of building your own middleware, which I think is basically at the end. I think is somewhere here, right? So yeah, basically creating something completely on your own end. I mean, that's also possible. Do you think there is a use case for that, like for validation? I mean, I see it for other things like app-specific stuff, but like for validation, when would you go for your own custom middleware?
Like maybe for certain auth use cases. I think the main motivation for this third section, which I also loved. So like I edited this post, reviewed it, and at one point I asked him, okay, for like each different code sample for each scenario, could you give more expressive function names? And then for this one, I loved that he came back and named it over-engineered agnostic validator, because that's what it is. It's over-engineered. You probably wouldn't want to do this, but it's a good way to wrap your head around how context and context variables work in Hono. So I'd say like there's certain, like this is mainly an instrument to understand how certain low-level things in Hono work, or low-ish level, more than like an actual approach to doing validation in your API.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing where you can set here variables back to the context, right? In the middleware, like seeing here that you set the variable validated to validated, and then return to the main root. Um, Cool. I mean, I just wanted to show again my vinyl app. I mean, you know how it is. And show you that I added some validation, but it was cool to also hear all the explanations around it. Yeah, is there anything you want to add, you want to show, you want to highlight?
No, I think I mainly wanted to just what I wanted to sneak in was like looking at the source code, because I think that there is, like, I felt this myself. I think there's a kind of an, when you're working on a project, especially a project that's established like Hono, there might be like a mental barrier to just like cracking open the source code and looking at it, possibly due to like past experiences where you did that and you were like, oh my gosh, what is going on? I find Hono's source code to be very approachable. The types get crazy, but like you don't have to like understand everything that's going on in the type system to understand what's actually getting executed code wise in like a function body. So yeah, mainly what I want to do is like also impart upon people watching, like, if you are ever skeptical about something or curious about it from the docs, because sometimes the docs are fairly light, which I believe is intentional. You can just look at the source code to understand like how things might work in certain contexts. So yeah.
Actually, that's also encouraging me because I'm also like, oh, I want to have it in the docs, but actually, it's a good thing and hint to say, okay, I also like now open the source code from time to time.
Yeah.
I give it a try. And other than that, I think it's also a great start because we can do more things with Zord. We can also build open API specs with it. And I think that might be something we can talk next week about it.
Yeah.
Because that's also quite cool if you especially build an application and an API that is used or that other people want to use. It can be handy to have open API spec directly in your mindset when start building. And I think we can look into this like next week, I would say.
Yep. We will.
We will. We
This
will.
is the open API. This is the open API teaser. We're going to be doing a bit more with Hono and Open API the next couple of weeks, I feel.
And we can also show a little bit what you are working on afterwards, because like you said, there is a lot of things releasing this week, so we need Open API for it, but we can also show a little bit of Hyperplane magic then afterwards.
Yes. All right.
Cool. Then you can sing our outro music.
I don't know what the it's the honk out. Da-da.